Hello MUS 1002 students. This is just a video to help explain some of the first composition project and get you ready and up to speed with Audacity, which you're going to use to create a sonic collage. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go online to audacityteam.org, and if you go there, you'll find this nice download Audacity link, and you can just download it and install it. I've already done that, so I'm not going to go through that because it's kind of just clicking next and OK. But it's right there for you. Once that's done, you're going to be using that to record sounds using the built-in mic on your laptop or on your webcam to create a sonic collage. If there's other sounds and you can't bring your computer to them, or it might be a little difficult to otherwise capture them, you can, of course, use your iPhone or an Android phone using the built-in audio recorders on those. Or I've used a portable recorder. This is the Zoom H6N. And just to get some other sounds that I couldn't otherwise get, I have a Soma Ether, which is an electromagnetic frequency microphone that picks up sounds that I'm going to use in my collage that cannot otherwise be perceived by the human ear. So let's take a look at the instructions. I've got these up already on Moodle, but you'll want to download and take a look at these because they do include the rubric. And the whole point of this is to experiment with non-musical sounds. So you can't use anything that came from an instrument. You can't use anything that came from a voice that is doing stuff like singing, rapping, beatboxing. You could use talking, though. That's totally fine. But you're going to record sounds in Audacity or on a portable recorder or on your phone, and then edit them and create an interesting sounding collage using the built-in effects in Audacity. So you need 5 or more samples. The piece itself will need to be 2 to 3 minutes long, and you're going to need to use the built-in effects in Audacity, especially things like change pitch, change speed, change tempo, distortion, echo, pulse stretch, phaser, reverb, reverse, and wah-wah to create interesting sounds. And these are the important ones to use because the others are kind of just utility plugins, and they do things like repeat, and I'm not going to count that as being an effect. It's just copy and paste. Last but not least, you need to properly save everything in the Audacity format in the same folder as your write-up responses, which you can see the bullet points down here that you have to answer. Then upload the entire folder and its contents to Google Drive and share it with me. So that's pretty easy, but it's very, very important that you do that correctly. So once you've got Audacity downloaded and installed, you'll have an icon like this. And if we double click it, it will bring us to a big blank screen of nothing. So let's get some audio in there. I will show you how to drag and drop audio in there in a second, but first let's record some stuff. So up here, I'm going to make sure that my microphone is set to the correct device, which it is. And I am only using a single mic, so I'm going to make sure that it's set to mono or 1 recording channel so that it picks it up without any extra junk. And with this, I'm going to just record a little bit of material. I'm going to do some finger snaps, I think, and we'll see how that sounds. So I just hit the record button and then snap into the microphone. Then I hit stop. And I can drop my cursor here and we can play it back. Okay, so of those, I think that only this third one was the best, so we're going to delete the others, and I'll leave it at 1 second of audio. And I can tell it's 1 second by looking up here at the timeline. I've got 0, I've got 1. And if I drop my cursor there, I have this big counter down here of hours, minutes, and seconds, and it tells me this is exactly 1 second. Cool. So that's going to be really useful to make sure that your piece gets to a maximum of 2 to 3 minutes. So I've got that. And if I hit home, I can hear it, or I can always hit skip to start. And then, of course, I can duplicate it with Control D, which duplicates to another track. Didn't really want that. This is where I can also do a little bit of copy and paste, and then I can just grab them by the title and move them up so that they're right next to each other. So now, if I go back home, let's just do a 4 count. So I'm going to select and paste and paste. And we've got 4 snaps in a row. And you can see I'm drifting out just a little bit. I'm probably just a hair over, so I'm going to hold down Control and zoom in. And yep, I am just a little hair over. So I'm going to go to exactly 1 on the counter. And then I'm going to select that and delete it. And we are dead center. And then I'm going to hold down Control and zoom back out. And now I could make this work. Anyway, that is the first part, is recording a sample. So let's record another one. I've got a piece of paper here that I'm going to rip and use that. But before I do anything else, I have started to record. So now I am happy with that snap. I'm going to save my project. I'm going to go up here to save. And it's going to say, where do you want to save it? And I've already created a folder called Comp1 Demo. And I'm just going to call it Comp1 Demo. And I want to save as type AUP3 project files. That's going to be very important later on. So I'm going to hit save. All right, to record another track, first things first, I'm going to mute this. I'm going to drop myself back to home by clicking skip to start. I'm going to get my sheet of paper ready, and then I will hit record, and I'm going to rip the sheet of paper right next to the microphone. And in fact, that actually recorded onto the same track. So let's create another track. And this is mono, so I'm just going to grab that. I'm going to drag my audio down to here. And that sounds pretty cool. Now, if I want to check and make sure that I'm getting just that segment, one thing that I can do is I can change to Spectrogram View. And I can see that's really roughly where it starts, and it goes to about there. I'm just going to hit crop to selection. And there we go. And then I'm going to click that arrow again, go back to waveform view. And we'll bring it back. Now, if I unmute the first track and go back to the start, you can hear both parts. Okay, kind of cool. So, Control S or Command S on Mac to save again. And then, what do we do if we want to bring in some other files? Well, I've already got some files. So, I'm going to grab file here. This is a quick audio recording of my dog playing with his tug-of-war rope. If I hit solo, it's going to mute the other tracks, and you can hear just that. Yeah, he sounds ferocious. He is absolutely not. Then I've got some electromagnetic frequencies that I've recorded. I'm going to solo that. And again, I've got this empty space here at the beginning, so I'm going to trim that by selecting all of that and hitting delete. Okay. And last but not least, in my folder, I've got metal bowl hits. So I'm going to grab those and put them in. And now, in order to not have to scroll up and down all the time, I'm going to go up to View, Track Size, and Fit to Height. And now I can see all of my tracks, and I can rename them if I so desire. Let's grab this one where it's called Audio Track. And actually that is not going to let me rename it easily, but we'll be fine with that. Okay, so I've got the metal bowl. Let's just solo that and here and figure out which one of these is the best. That's a little much. Better. Pretty good. I think that last one's my favorite though. So I'm going to hold down Control or Command if I was on Mac and zoom in. And we're going to select everything before that all the way to the beginning, which might take a second. I can also zoom out and do it this way. There we go. And just hit delete, and now I just have that last metal bowl hit. Now that is a little long, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to crop it. If I grab the end, I can move it. And then I'm going to select part of it. I'm going to go to Effects. I'm going to use a utility effect called Fade Out, and that's just going to taper the end off. Okay, so that's a little bit better. Again, that's a utility effect. That's not going to count towards your effects if you are working with those. One thing to note, though, is that with solo, that mutes every other track. But if I want to mute just a single track and hear everything else, I would hit mute. So now I can hear everything except for the metal bowl. Although, honestly, my dog is a little too loud, so we'll mute him too. There we go. The other thing to be aware of is that as you get larger and larger amounts of time in your files, you'll notice that the time ruler up here has changed. That it started at 0 and went to about 10 seconds initially, but now I've got 2 minutes. That is a lot. So, my piece needs to be between 2 and 3 minutes, so I'm good there, but I need to start creating something that sounds kind of cool here. So let's start doing that. I'm going to mute pretty much everything except for my snaps, and I'm going to zoom in on those and go back to the beginning. I don't know why I had hit play, but apparently I had. Okay, so with that, I'm going to select that track, and you will notice that that and my paper ripping are both very quiet in comparison to everything else. And that's because these are not normalized audio files. So I'm going to go to Effects and Normalize, and that will just make them louder using the default. Do the same thing here, and Effect, Normalize. There we go. And I can crop that down. I'm going to add just a smidge of fade in and fade out on both of those. Okay, then back to my snaps. So with my snaps, I think I'm going to use those to construct a rhythm. So what I'm going to do is select this, and then I could copy and paste that, and you've got the standard edits here. Just keep in mind that duplicate duplicates the track, not the clip. So if I want to duplicate the clip, what I can do is go to Effect and Repeat. I'm going to tell it to do 3 repeats. And now I've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. So here, let's do a little bit of experimenting with the effect. I'm going to change the pitch, and I'm going to drop this guy down. So percent change is probably the easiest way to do it. If I hit preview, we hear what it goes down to. Let's go really low. All right, I think we can go lower. All right, there we go. Then I'm going to do the same thing here. And if I want to use the exact same settings, I can go to Effect and do Repeat Pitch Change. So now, okay, pretty cool. Let's change that up a little bit. I'm going to take this guy, copy and paste it. Then I'm going to move it so that it starts at 3.5. And then crop this down so that it's exactly at 4. So now, I've got a very, very basic audio clip in the form of a just a basic beat, I guess. Or rhythm would be the better term, because it's not really a beat. A beat is only a single hit. Okay, so with that selection, what I can now do is I can go and I can take them and I can take that track and go to repeat again. And I can say, how many times do I want to repeat this? Well, it's 4 seconds. I need to be roughly 2 minutes, which is 120 seconds, which would be 30. So I need 29 repeats. Let's do that. And then I'm going to zoom out, and indeed, we end at about 2 minutes. I can always go to View, Track Size, and Fit to Width. All right, so that's kind of cool. I've got that, and that's just going to go. Cool. Next, let's start playing around with some of the electromagnetic frequency microphones. So I'm going to unsolo this. I'm going to mute. I'm going to mute. I'm going to mute everything except for the EMF mic. So let's hear that in context. And it's a little loud. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this gain knob and take it down a bit. I can also grab the gain knob on my audio track up here for the snaps and edit that. What I'm going to do here, though, is I'm going to do a little bit of cutting and pasting. Let's find a good section. So let's solo. Okay, I think that is good. I'm going to select that. I'm going to trim audio outside of selection and just have that part. So, let's move it back. I need a small amount of fade in and a small amount of fade out for what I'm proposing, which I will show you now. So I've got this, and that's kind of cool. So I'm going to repeat it only once. And then, with that, I'm going to separate them. And I want this to start roughly at 20 seconds. That's about there. So then I'm going to go to Effect, and let's use my favorite, Pulse Stretch. So, I need to select it. There we go. All right, Pulse Stretch. What this does is it stretches everything out by ridiculous amounts. So let's make it 5 times its original length and hit OK. And that's nearly to the end of the track, but not quite. So let's do Pulse Stretch again. Let's do 6 times its length and hit OK. Oh, so close. All right. Close enough that we can work with it. We can move that to end at just over 2 minutes. Okay. So I've got some cool droney effects here. That's going to sound pretty hip. And I can also do some other stuff with this that would be rather interesting. But we'll get to that in a little bit. First, I want to play with the dog growl. So let's solo that. We're definitely going to take the volume down because, yeah, might be a little aggro otherwise. Okay, so that's pretty good. We'll zoom in. I'm going to add just a touch of fade out again. Nothing wrong with fading out. Okay, then I've got roughly 3 different parts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go there. Then I am going to split the clip. I'm going to go roughly there. And then clip boundaries, and I'm going to split the clip. So now I've got 3 different versions, and I'm going to apply a small fade out to this one and to this one. And you don't have to do this, it's just me and personal preference. But let's take a look at what we can do with this. Okay, so that's my base one. So I am going to copy and paste it, and then now with that, I'm going to change and maybe make my dog a little bit more demonic. So let's do some overdrive, and we're going to do hard clipping. And we're going to hit apply. So here's the original. And with clipping. And let's do a little bit of pitch change to make it just a tad lower. Okay, that's too much, clearly. So starting at F2 to D2. Let's try that. There we go. All right, Cerberus, eat your heart out. Okay, so we've got that, and I can go there and go to the effects, and we can do a little bit of reverb. And what is my reverb time? That's going to be way too much. Too much. Up the pre-delay. There we go. All right, so I've got reverbed and a little bit more crazy. Then we can go back to the original. And then we've got that. Let's go the opposite direction. Let's turn my Australian Shepherd into a Chihuahua. So we're going to take it up from G to C, and let's preview. Okay, so that's creating some interesting artifacting. You can hear this weird kind of metallic timbre to it. I'm really digging that, but I want to use that as something else. So I'm going to do a new track, and we're going to do a stereo track because this is stereo. Then I'm going to move it up here. Right, so I'm going to move this down to here because I'm going to play with that on its own. So we'll solo it, and then we're going to do a bit of wah-wah. And let's do an LFO rate of about 2.5. And the phase is fine, and the depth is fine. All right, apply. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. So this is super, super, super cool. Let's change the view real quick and fit everything to height. And now let us play with this. I'm going to move this up twice. And now I've got my dogs. Let's take it here. Let's copy it. And paste it. And sync it. This one I'm not sure I'm going to use. I need copy, paste. There we go. Okay, and one more. There. And there. And these last two are the ones that I'm going to have some fun with the Paul Stretch plugin. So we'll solo this one first. I'm just going to, I think I might just delete this one. All right, so let's go back to view, track size, fit to width, so I can see everything. And then I'm going to grab these 3 clips. Select all 3 of them. Go to Edit, Clip Boundaries, Join, Solo, and then zoom in. Okay. And do the same here. Okay. Now, I am going to copy, paste, copy, paste. We're going to sync these two so that they're going to start at the same time. And then I'm going to start them out down here, roughly 20 seconds. And you'll notice that they're not the same length. Let's do something about that. Let's get into both of these. So I'm going to turn off solo. I'm going to mute everything else just so I don't hear it. Then I'm going to select, you can only select one clip at a time unfortunately, but I'm going to select this one to start. We're going to go to Effects and Reverb, and we're just going to use those settings, and we're going to do the same thing here. And I can do Repeat Reverb, and it will use the exact same settings. Then I'm going to go to Effects, and we're going to do a little bit of Paul Stretch. And 6 might be a little much. Let's do 3. And here, we're going to do Paul Stretch at 1.5. Then I'm going to copy, paste, and sync them, but here I'm also going to do something very interesting. I am going to go to the effects here, and I'm going to go and reverse that clip. I'm also going to select just this little ending here and paste that, and I'm also going to go to Effect and reverse that. Then I'm going to move it so that it's just a little bit further back, and there we go. All right, so now I've got some pretty cool stuff here. Let's listen to what it sounds like in context. So I'm going to unmute everything, and you can hear this starting at 20 seconds roughly. Okay, so that sounds really interesting. Clearly, I've got to do a little bit of stuff with volume. The other thing I can do here is I'm going to play around with the panning, or the direction that the sounds come from. So my first dog growl, I'm going to put all the way to the left, and then my second, I'm going to put all the way to the right. And now, if you listen to it, you will hear pretty big differences. I'm going to set the gain to -19 on both. This is going to be really obvious what you hear here. Okay, so kind of cool. We'll zoom back out, and that's really easy with the view to width. And then I've got my paper here. Okay, that is just screaming for some effects, so let's do some echoing. Let's do a delay time of 0.333 seconds, which is a third of a second, and a decay factor of 0.8. That's fine. All right. Okay, that's a bit much. So Command Z or Control Z will undo. First, let's do some stuff here with the Paul stretch and the reverb. So I'm going to do Paul stretch first. Let's make that 3 times its length. Then let's add the reverb. Hit OK. Then I'm going to do a change pitch. And we're going to take it down. It starts on 7. Let's take it down to there. That is going to sound awesome. Okay, we're going to apply that. Then I'm going to do more stuff on that. Let's do just a touch more on the Paul stretch. And this time I'm going to do 5 times the length. And we're going to hit OK. Then I'm going to add my echo, and this time it should be a little bit better. And then, last but not least, I am going to do some reversing, and then I'm going to listen to that, but first I want to do just a bit of a fade in, and I'm also going to take the volume down so I don't blow my eardrums up. Oh, that sounds cool. Now here's where duplicating a track can help. So I just duplicated it. I'm going to have to move it up a little bit. Move it to the top. All right. Then I'm going to move it up one more time. Actually, I'll move this one back to the top. There we go. Okay. So I've got the 2 copies. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one, going to select it, reverse it again, so it's going the original way. I am going to change the pitch again, and this time we're going to go up. I'm just grabbing random numbers here. All right, so now I've got a left and right pan. I'm going to take that one to 40 and 40. So this is left, that is right. Then let's do a little bit of soloing. Let's see how that sounds. That's going to have to come down. All right, so let's take them off of mute and let's listen to the 2 of them in context. And yeah, they are offset just a little bit. You'll notice there's a difference between when one clip starts and the other does. Okay, that's kind of cool. I'm really kind of digging where I'm at so far. So I'm just going to unmute everything except for the bowl. I'm going to solo the metal bowl. And then I'm going to copy, I'm going to paste this at important points in the track. So that's going to be 15 seconds, pretty much every 15 seconds. And we're just going to do one more. All right, so I'm going to select that. Then I'm going to go to Effect, and we're going to do some change pitch. Okay, that might be a little much, but we're going to do it. Then we're going to do this one. We're going to do change pitch. I'm not doing the repeat option because I'm going to use different versions. So here we start at C#6. I'm going to take it down to A5 and hit OK. Again, these are totally random. I'm just grabbing values that I think will sound good. Let's take this down even further, and then we're going to leave the last one at its original pitch. Then I will select all of those, and I'm going to go to Clip Boundaries, Join, Effect, Reverb, and Apply. And then I'm going to select just the end and do a fade out, because otherwise it might be a little too much. So let's hear that. Okay, so now I'm going to unsolo that. Going to go back to the view and the track size and fit to height so that we can see everything. Although I will compress that guy down and that guy down so I can get the volume sliders for some of my other tracks in case we need to make any adjustments. And let's hear it from the beginning. Obviously, this is only about the first minute or so. Well, really the first 45 seconds of the piece. Okay, so the piece is off to a good start, and this is exactly what you're going to be doing. I'm not going to show you everything. I'm not going to show you how to complete everything so that you're just effectively working from me. I want you to experiment with the program and create your own piece. But when you are done, again, make sure that you go to Save Project. And that's really important because what you need to submit is going to include quite a few files. But specifically, you will have the AUP3 or Audacity project file, and then any files that you had already recorded. And that AUP3 file is very important because it contains the entire project and every file that you may have recorded. So that one has to be there. But I will do a short video on what to save and what to upload in addition to that file so that you have that as a separate video and can watch it and reference it as many times as you need to. But that is it for how to mess around with sounds in Audacity. Keep in mind that you have the grading rubric and all of the bullet points that you need for the project in the handout. So use that as your guide as you're creating your piece. And have fun with this. Don't worry about if it sounds good or not. I really just want you to experiment and get a feel for what it's like to create a sonic collage.